Holy crap, kid. Take a break.
Yeah, this is your world, bro. I don't even know if I'm living in it.
Yeah.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Blue Collars Podcast. We've got Mr. Kenny Jarvis in the studio with us tonight. Man, how are you?
I'm good, man. I am real good.
Good to hear it. I love these one-on-ones. I think we just talked about this a second ago, but I think these are almost beneficial for us just to, really kind of open the door for our friendship to build. I know we just met each other, a few months ago, and when we both, joined Simply Hunt, and love having you on the podcast, man. I think you're probably one of the most knowledgeable guys in the industry that I know, and I feel like both of us are addicted to improving that knowledge and keep growing and keep building upon that for future endeavors and everything. So it's really nice to have you back in the studio. The last episode that we had with you was awesome. It was killer. This week we're gonna talk a little bit about whitetail deer hunting. We're gonna talk a little bit about what's coming down the pipeline as far as waterfowl, and we'll see what all we'll get into. But you just got back from a little trek up in the hills, didn't you, a few days ago?
And a trek it was, man. That's a good way of calling it. I don't know if I'd quite call it a hunt. Yeah, man, I plan to take a few days off for Colorado's third rifle season, and I got the time approved off. My plan was roll up Friday night, me and my buddy. He had an elk tag, I had a buck tag. Roll up Friday, hunt through Wednesday. We got hammered with snow all week long in the high country, which is good for late season deer activity and the rut and getting stuff moving. But Friday afternoon, headed up the hill, and my dad lives closer to where I was going, and he went and checked it out for me, and he called me and was like, turn around, don't even go. You can't get in. There's 18 inches of snow, there's 30-inch drifts, like, you're not getting in. And being the dummy that I am, I was like, okay, cool. So I called it for the night. Next morning, went and sat in a goose pit. I was like, if I'm not hunting something, or if I'm not hunting deer, I'm hunting something.
Yeah.
So sat in the goose pit, and unfortunately got skunked. They just haven't really migrated in yet, but don't know if you don't try. And that evening I decided to pack up in my truck again and try to go in from a different angle. There's 3 ways to get into our hunting area, so tried another area, threw the chains in the truck. I was like, I'm getting in, I'm going deer hunting, and sure enough, my dad was right. I should have listened. Snowpack, there was trailers, there was trucks and ditches, everybody was chained up, Forest Service was up there turning people around. Pulled out, went and stayed at my parents' house, and then the next day I tried the third way in, and I got within a few miles of our cabin up there where I was going to stay, and I hiked in 3 miles through knee-deep snow, just post-holing in, and it sucked. It sucked bad, and where I was crossing is where I've been seeing some bucks and where I've been patterning in some of these bigger bucks, and I didn't see a dang track. Elk track, deer track, nothing. Decided just to go in anyways, kept going, got all the way in, and I saw some moose tracks. So don't have a tag for that, but it was pretty cool. Did see some bulls moving around, some bull moose, and stayed the night, glassed that evening, got up early the next morning, hiked up to a good vantage, sat behind my glass, and just didn't turn anything up, and got some calls from work that some stuff was going on and they needed me back. So unfortunately I really only got to hunt, if you can call it that, for about 3.5 hours, and I ended up hiking back out. So
sounds like you went on a nature hike.
I don't even know if I'd call it a hike. I post-holed through snow, and I got to the only open ridge that I could realistically see from, and it was, you don't know if you don't try, and that's half the fun, that's half the adventure, especially chasing these big ruddy bucks in the high country. The snow gets thrown in there, and that's just part of it. And don't tell my wife, but I guess I just need a new Ranger with tracks or something to get a little further.
Man. Hey, we could probably do that as a tax write-off at some point, with the
One of
whole.
these days, one of these days we'll make it happen. So
Oh
no,
my
man,
gosh.
it's what I love. It's just what I love. It's all about
Yeah.
the adventure. It's never about the tag. So just being able to go, just experiencing that country in that
Yeah.
aspect was just amazing. Got to stay the night in our cabin by myself, snowed in a little bit, light the
Hmm.
fires, and just hang out, and it was good. It's good for the soul.
Yeah.
So
You guys out there,
ate a tag, but had a good adventure.
you guys out there are built different, man. I mean, I cannot. I can imagine hiking in somewhere 3 miles, but when I say hiking in, the majority of our ground around here is like this. You're talking about ground that's like this and every which way, and
Yeah, it
it's
was about 1,200 feet in elevation gain on the way out.
oh
So
my
going in
gosh,
was the easy part, going downhill. So thank God I was able to cut a little bit of a track going in.
yeah,
But yeah, it kicked my
goodness,
butt a little bit. I feel a little bit defeated and a little discouraged. Luckily, I didn't burn any points on this tag, so we
yeah.
can try again next year. The good thing is, I don't think anybody killed those bucks I was after, so
Well,
maybe they'll be
hey,
there next year.
it'll be there. Hopefully, it'll be there for you next year, man. That's insane.
Yeah, but I mean, shoot, man, you're shooting us some photos. Looks like you had some success. You've been out in the stand having a good time.
Yeah. So the other evening, an old student of mine, believe it or not, called me and he's like, "Hey, man," he's like, "We've got this farm over here in the county that I work in, that I teach ag in." He's like, "Man, we've got so many does on our property," and of course my ears perked up at the sound of that, because I've been trying to put some meat in the freezer for a month now and just hadn't
Oh
seemed to be
yeah,
able to make it happen. And we got over there and just right after school met up with him at his farm and um, went and uh, went and got up in the stand. We busted like three does, big old does walking in. And I was kind of feeling defeated. I was like, we should have shot those. It was still early. It was only like 3:20 at this point. Got up in the stand. We knew we had about an hour and a half of daylight
come here.
left, um, and we got up in the stand, got all set up, started glassing around a little bit. So the way his farm is set up, or the way this farm is set up, it's a big L-shaped ridge line, and everything else just kind of flows down beside it, all covered in woods, and those deer use those tops of the ridge. I mean, we're talking maybe 90 yards wide and about 300 yards long, and those deer were just back and forth all afternoon. Well, in Lyon County, you can still bait deer, still feed corn and everything. And he had a pretty good corn pile set up about 150, 160 yards away, right on the edge of the woods where the deer would come out, and sure enough, we were in the stand maybe 25 minutes, and this nice, I don't know, 120, 130 pound doe comes out. Uh, Big old spike looking 4 point. I mean, when I say spike looking, I mean he had his main beams were like this, but then he had a fork at both ends of the top. And I was like, that if all else fails, that doesn't look too bad at this point as far as deer season goes.
Something, something.
And he started chasing the does around. And I was trying to there was another doe that had come out, and I was trying to get them lined up perfect because I was going to try to shoot two in one, And buck come out, busted him up, and Grant he just leaned over to me. He said I can't get a shot off of this other deer. He said just go ahead and take that one. He said we got plenty of time. It's like we'll just wait for another one. So I just pull up the old trusty 243 and lay her out cold in her tracks.
Nice.
And so that was one down. Well, at this point, like I said, it's maybe 340 at this point, and I was like, what do I do now? So we sat there for another, I don't know, another hour, and we had some spike bucks come out, just running around playing. Had a couple of small button bucks and everything, and then right about, I guess it was 4:15 or so, this young, probably yearling doe comes out. She was just too small. I wasn't going to mess with her. Well, then I look over in the woods behind her, and this behemoth of a doe comes walking out to the edge of this field. And I'm like, holy crap. And like I said, we're about 150, 160 yards away. And if she looked that big from where I was sitting, I knew she had to be a big old girl, And he's like, you better shoot that thing. He's like, if you don't, I'm going to. Well, I pulled up. We had a little spike buck over to the edge of the woods of us on our right, about 30 yards away. Well, he started stomping the ground and blowing and everything else. Well, that doe started getting curious and she started walking towards us. And she had probably only walked 10 yards at this point. But I looked over at Grant and was like, I'm just going to shoot her in the head. I was like, it'll save some of the meat. I said, we'll just, she'll drop right there. We can go get the truck. We'll be done. Well, when I shot, right about the time that I shot, that buck blew again. And she turned her head a little bit. And I didn't think I hit her. Like, she kind of ducked her head and ran off into the woods. Well, I didn't think anything of it. But by that point, it was like 4:30. We decided to go ahead and cut our losses, get down, go down there and drag the deer out. We walked down. It, like I said, 200 yards. We're off the little edge of the woods there. Drag that first doe out, and we're sitting there just chit chatting. And Grant looks up and looks over in the woods, and he's like, "Well, you did shoot that other doe." And I'm like, "What?" And I thought I'd fully missed her. I thought she just turned her head and it went, right by her head. He said, "No, sure enough, she's right down there, about 15 feet inside the wood line." And all balled up. But we walked over there, and I'm telling you, when we got down there to her, I was blown away. By far, the biggest doe that I've ever seen in my life, much less killed one. And we put her on a scale whenever we got back. We had one of those farming drive over scales, and we just picked her up out of the truck and put her on it. 200 pounds. This doe weighed 201 pounds, I think is what it was.
Man.
And I'm like, biggest doe that I've ever seen in my whole life. And wow. I had her piled up in the truck. We've got some video that we're going to put on YouTube here in the next few days of just the process of cutting her up, grinding some meat up and everything. So really, really cool video. And ended up driving back here to Paducah and got a call from some of our other guys, some of our field team with Simply Hunt, and my buddy's wife had actually shot a really, really nice 9-point buck, and big old brute of a deer. It's on my Instagram page right now, but big old brute of a deer, especially for around here. And we went over there and just spent the evening, just cutting up, telling stories, lying to one another. We hung 3 deer up at the time, had them all, skinned out, chopped them up, put them on the grinder, put them in bags, put it in the freezer. It was a great day. So hadn't got a buck yet, but Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and I'm telling you, the closer we get to Thanksgiving Day, which is the closer we get to the opening day of duck season in Kentucky, the less I care about whitetail deer. So,
well, especially now that you got some meat in the freezer, easy to move on.
Mission awesome, accomplished. Dude. You can't eat antlers at the end of the day, So
no, congratulations, dude. That's so awesome. It's all
appreciate it. Yeah,
putting meat in the freezer. Bucks are cool. Yeah. Everyone likes to see big bucks, but I want to eat them all year.
Absolutely, and I bet I've got a good 60 pounds of meat. I think right now in the freezer. I ended up giving a bunch of it away, and I mean we sat there and we cut up on those deer for 2 hours probably, me and my brother, and they all ended up leaving, and I got left there to grind it all up and bag it and everything else by myself. So it took forever, man. I was sitting in that chair, and my hands were cramping. Of course, I'd worked that day, too, so I was already exhausted. And we started grinding, and I bet I ground up deer meat for, probably 2.5 hours. I didn't get home till like 11 o'clock that night. So, but
fruits of your labor, man. It's always worth it.
Yep,
always
absolutely.
Worth it. That's great.
If you want to hunt like a pro, you need something durable, tough enough to work in saltwater, something fast and convenient, easy to charge, something that's going to be seen from far away. It's got to move, it's got to look real, and it's got to bring the birds close. Hunt like a pro with the Pulsator Pro from Higdon Outdoors.
But speaking of waterfowl season, we're kind of moving. We're in this weird transitional period, in hunting season that we're on the verge, of waterfowl coming in. We're on the verge of deer just kind of moving its way out.
It's just so weird. The seasons are so different. We've been open. Our waterfowl season's been open for dang near a month at this point.
I know.
So yeah, I mean it's crazy. I finish archery season and first rifle and roll basically right into killing ducks until honker season opens,
Yeah.
and then we kill geese through February.
Yeah.
So, but it's that time of year, man. It's getting exciting. The skies are getting dark. The birds are moving in.
My hands are starting to shake a little bit. You know,
Yep.
getting that itch on my neck. You know, trying to go load the boat up, load decoys and everything. But it is honestly tried and true my favorite time of the year. And people always ask, you know, well, I'm a big Christmas guy too. Like I love Christmas time. My wife and I we're diehard. Like we started decorating for Christmas like 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
And
me too.
I mean, kind of one of them things. Christmas music is playing through the house. We've got, you know, Christmas candles lit and making it smell like gingerbread and crap through the house and everything. But it's that time of year that it's just everything seems to feel right, you know. And we're finally starting to get some cold weather here in Kentucky, which is different than up in the north where you live. You know, it's like up in the mountain regions where you've had snow for a while already, but you know,
dude, it's just so hard. These last few years here have been so hard because, yeah, we got hit with snow real hard, but now it's 65 degrees. We've been working in T-shirts again, so it's just so hit or miss, and I'm just itching. I'm itching for the big migrators to move in and start filling up these cornfields and throw big feeder spreads. And, oh, man, it's right around the corner. We're getting real close.
You talk about hunting over, you know, big feeder spreads. I'd never done that growing up. I mean, here in Western Kentucky, I mean, some people can get away with it, but we're not as wide open as, you know, after you cross the Mississippi, you know, going west in Missouri and Arkansas, you know, Kansas, Nebraska, those areas, you can get away with that stuff. But it's like down here, they don't dry feed like they do out west. And the first opportunity that I had to hunt over a dry food spread was out there with Zach and JC in Oklahoma last year. And well, I guess it was actually this year. It was just last season, but complete different experience. Like it was something that I had never witnessed before, and just the sheer amount of mallard ducks coming into just a wide open cornfield out in the middle of nowhere.
Greenheads over corn, man. Dude. It is so special. It is so special to kill mallards on a cornfield. It is
beautiful.
It is beautiful. Primo. It is the one of the coolest things you'll ever get to do.
Yeah. And I mean, it was one of those things, like here we were, there was 3 of us from Western Kentucky that had gone out there, and we were filming obviously. And I just got to the point where I just put my gun down, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, I can't even shoot. Like I was trying to, like I said, I was moving the camera around trying to film, but like I just got to the point where I was just in awe of just the sheer amount of ducks that were trying to get in. I mean, of course, it was -3, -4 degrees outside at the time, and wind chill of like -25. I mean, we were frozen. Like I finally realized that I do not own clothing to
for
hunt
that kind of weather.
in that kind of weather.
Yeah.
I mean, just because we don't have that over here, you know, it doesn't exist. I mean, we've got way too many trees to knock the wind down, you know. So it's a completely different atmosphere, completely different world. And we got out there. Whenever Zach told us the plan of that hunt, it was like, yeah, we're going to go out here to this cornfield, and we're going to set up 2 A-frame blinds right in the middle of the field, and we're going to brush them in. And I looked at him like he had 4 eyes. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, you can't do that. Ain't no way a duck's going to land anywhere near us. I was like, that doesn't exist. And he said, no. He said, do you trust me? I said, I don't know if I should or not, but I guess I do. So we got out there and set those A-frames up. Had a ton of decoys. Higdon had hit it, you know, set us up with a bunch of their new silhouettes. We had a full Apex goose decoy spread out there. And when I say Apex, I'm talking about the Apex stands, you know, the stakes and everything.
Yep.
You've seen those. You're a big fan of those big.
I'm a big fan of those. Oh yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute, but had a whole spread of those out, and of course we had some half shells and some full body mallards out there too. And it was just like we're out in the middle of nowhere. There's a little river that runs behind us, and all of a sudden it was like God let the dam loose, and birds just started flooding in. And I'm like, this is insanity. And we were just sitting there, and you know, we had, I think it was 3, 4, 5, there's 6 of us out there, and we killed a 6-man in like an hour and a half.
Oof, that's a good
And
day.
I was like, I'm a believer now. I'm a believer.
I sent some photos to you guys. I don't know if you got to look at them, but I have some photos I can show you. We've brushed in 2 to 3 A-frames in the middle of a
Yeah.
field, just grassed them in and on some hay fields. And man, it's crazy. You look at it and you're like, this isn't going to work. This
Yeah.
isn't going to work. And the next thing you know, they're feet down right in front of you coming in. Like, oh, it's so fun.
Those big feeder honker spreads are. I've seen it. I've only ever seen it on TV or on YouTube, and watching other people. I've never done it yet. Western Kentucky used to be the land of honkers, and it's since they've all moved west of here. We're lucky to see a farm goose flying over. At 150 yards high. It's just when we have our early honker season comes in September, and
Cool.
we have like 2 weeks of early goose season, and basically, I mean, everybody jokes around. It's like it's not even really a goose season. It's more like a farm goose season because you're shooting all the local birds that have been around, for all year long and
Right.
have paired up and everything. And they're stupid anyway. I mean, you can put a really nice decoy spread out, and
Don't
or
even
you
matter.
can put you could put
Yeah.
2 decoys out, and they'd come right into it, kind of thing.
I keep
So,
saying it, man. I want to get everybody out here and put you in the pit. We got a really good spot up on top of a hill. You can see all around it and throw down 50, 60, 70 dozen and just let them come. It's so fun. You'll hear Zach talk about it. Hunting geese over big spreads like that is cool because you just scream at them. You just call as loud and as hard and as fast as you can. You flag at them, and they just start banking and pulling group after group after group coming in. It's so fun, man.
that's one of the crazy things too. I mean, talk about calling. I mean, do I have a goose, a Canada call on my lanyard? Yeah, for the one-off chance that we may see one, and but that is one thing that I have never, and maybe it's just a failure on my part, but I've never focused on goose calling. And I mean, I feel like I can almost call a goose better with just my voice from being around them, hearing them and knowing what they sound like. And if they're treetop high, I'm gonna leave that call down. I'm just gonna like, just bellow at them a little bit, and it's just, it's one of those things. I know it's different out there than it is here, but you just don't have to use it very often. So it's
not
a
a
tool.
necessity. It's kind of like me. I have a speck call on my lanyard. I've seen 3 speckle bellies in my entire hunting career out here. 3.
Oh, wow.
I've seen a dozen snows that come in with lessers in the early season. Dude, all I hunt, my main focus is honkers. Yeah. And I'm a decent caller. I'm nothing like Mr. Zach Brown. Like dude, that man can rip a goose call like I have never heard. It gives me chills every time I hear it.
If he's in the pit, I just leave my goose call in the truck because I know I ain't touching it.
They look cool for photos when he's there. But and that's just kind of how it is out here, man. We've got other calls. I've got some mallard calls, but the ducks on the field, if they want to be there, you don't even have to call at them. They're just going to come in. They're going to see a spinner and dump right in. But no, it's kind of just how it is out here. We hunt geese. That's our big thing is dry field honker spreads.
We're gonna have to set up something where, like because we talked about, you're kind of set up over where you're at, mine over here. We've got all this space in the middle. We're gonna have to set up and do at least one something new every single year, that we can film because everybody will experience it for the first time. Yeah, we've talked about that turkey trip up north next spring. All of us come up and hunt up north, and I think one cool thing for you, especially being a big goose guy, we need to try to get down to Arkansas during speckle belly season when it first comes in, and get on a really good, get on something down there. And I've got some buddies that live around there that guide, all year, and it's just I've got one guy in particular that I'm thinking of that is basically a speckle belly just guru. I mean, knows everything that there is to know about him, and dude can call a speckle belly like it's nobody's business. So
one thing you're going to learn about me is you tell me that there's a spot open in a blind or in a field, and I'm invited. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna show up. I don't care if I have to drive or fly. I'll be there.
Call me crazy. So I think this is probably one of the greatest things about my my photography and media business is whenever. So I spend the majority of my waterfowl season in other people's blinds, filming for them, taking photos for their, guide services or whatever. And I love doing it. It gets me in the blind with somebody, hundreds of stories that you get told every single day.
Yep.
That's what's cool to me. I mean, I'm to the point now, call it maturing in age or whatever, but I'm to the point now, like, shooting them with a gun, shooting them with a camera, sitting there and just sitting back and watching them decoy, watching them turn to a call, watching somebody work ducks with a call in timber or in a cornfield, whatever. It's just, to me, it makes my heart happy that we are able to do that, and it's to the point now that in my contract, because I spend so much time during duck season, on the road filming for people, in my contract, I've written up a little thing for myself. I don't do this very often, but in my contract, it's written up that I have a flat rate fee per day for filming or photography for waterfowl. But I also added that my client pays for either a 3-day or a 5-day hunting license for me in whatever state that I'm working in, and if it's a 3-day hunt, I get either one hunt, like a morning hunt or an afternoon hunt, but I get one hunt while I'm there.
Awesome.
So
that's cool, man.
I've kind of snuck it into the fine print, just to be able to pull a few triggers every so often. But
absolutely, no, that's what's up. That's cool, man. I love that.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
It
helps out a little bit, and plus after all those shells that Migra sent us this year, I'm gonna have to hunt a little bit more, sling some
I need
steel.
to get my hands on some of those shells, man. I'm itching.
I'm gonna have to ship you some. I've got them over here in my hunting closet right now. They're waiting very patiently to get used. So
yeah, I'm itching to try them. I'm stoked about it. I'm looking forward to it.
I think you will be pleasantly surprised whenever you get a hold of them.
That's what I hear.
But another thing is we need to get you some Higdon decoys.
Yep.
I know we just talked about this a second ago. We finally got the confirmation from Higdon, and of course, when we talk about Higdon, we're also talking about Momarsh and Power Calls and Riven, which Riven I think is right up your alley. That's my bread and butter right there, man. Big elk hunter over here. We're gonna have to get you hooked up with Bo here in the spring and get you some stuff out there. Maybe start working on an elk calling contest or something in your future before too long. So
something like that.
I think that would be really neat for for Zach to get back into goose calling again. And,
yep.
One of us getting into turkey calling or you getting into elk doing the calling contest, because I've never done it. I've always wanted to, but I just never knew the right people to get into it. But now we've got a traveling group now, between all of us, and I think it'd be interesting to see. Just even if it was just to try it out and see what it's like, and get the content from it. I mean, I think it'd be really interesting. And we've got talented enough people on this group. Surely one of us could pull out a ribbon at some point. But
someone will place somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I've ran into Bo at a couple of sporting shows. They just put on a big one out here. This was the first year of them doing the Mile High Hunt and Fish Expo.
Yeah.
And he was there, and I talked to him, and he entertained my kid with some noises, and it was cool. He's a good dude. I'm looking forward to getting to sit down and talk to him and just kind of pick his brain a little bit, because one thing you're going to learn about elk nuts that like to chase bugles is we're kind of all wired the same. We're all a little crazy to want to go put that many miles down to chase these things screaming, but it's fun.
You got to be a little bit crazy to do that.
Oh,
no
yeah.
doubt. And
absolutely.
If you like you said, you've met Bo, you know him. He's got a little crazy hair every so often.
I love it.
But I love him to death. He's a good guy. I worked with him for 2.5 years over at Higdon, and the cool thing about him, and honestly, you put Brooke Richard in that boat too. But some of our industry professionals, if you want to call them that, they're one way on camera, but they're a completely different guy or different female off camera. Those two guys, what you see is what you get with them, and they'd give you the shirt off their back. to help you out. Thank goodness for Brooke. We've been kind of And I guess we can kind of have this as our introductory for that. But we've been in the works with Higdon for the last few weeks, and Simply Hunt is now on the brand ambassador team for Higdon Outdoors and all that comes with Higdon. So that's, like we said, it's Momarsh, Power Calls, and Ribbon, and Higdon Decoys. So we're absolutely thrilled to have them on board with us. We're absolutely thrilled to be on board with them. I think it's going to turn out to be a really, really good combination for all of us at hand. I mean, with the amount of different ins and outs of hunting that we all pursue, I've used the majority of their products. I've helped test their products before. I'm looking forward to us being able to help with that endeavor in the future as well, with the amount of different areas that we get to, go and see and hunt, and get y'all's feedback from it. It's great content for us. It's content for them. Us being able to, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think the whole team is really, and when we talk about our team in general, Simply Hunt team, it's growing it's growing exponentially every single day. And it's really taken off more than I even, I guess, originally gave it credit to, and it's, the field team is growing. I feel like we're getting a whole lot of comments and interest in the podcast here now. We've got a lot of people that are listening, tuning in every week. And I know we've kind of been off the schedule the last few weeks. Kenny's been on me the last couple of weeks trying to get back in the studio here, but it's just like sometimes life happens, man, and for the listeners here, as we kind of wrap up this episode, be on the lookout for the big things coming. We've got an episode planned with Wade Shoemaker and Q-Tip from Migra, talking about with them, trying to get with them. They're on their boat rant tour right now. They just started that the other day, so I'm hoping to catch them at a good point. They actually may even stop in here in Western Kentucky. We might actually get to do a live podcast with them. So I'm hoping that works out. If not, it'll be released just like any of our other episodes, just on a Wednesday night at 7:30. Brooke Richard has agreed to do one. We've got a whole lot of other people in the community that faces you will definitely recognize in the pipeline, ready to jump on board and come and have a conversation. But you've heard it here, folks. Folks. There's so much big, great things coming down the pipeline for us. We've got so many great partnerships, and we haven't even announced all of them yet. Those are coming soon. We have partnered with some of the best in the business, and it's like Kenny just said. It's not about just making our team better. It's about making everybody better. And we hope to be able to supply you guys with not only the information, but the tools in which to do that with. And we hope that you'll continue to tag along with us here on YouTube or on Spotify every Wednesday night at 7:30. Most Wednesday nights, I should say. We're getting better about that. But hopefully every Wednesday night from now on at 7:30 Central. You can find us on Spotify at Simply Hunt. And on YouTube at Simply Hunt as well, or TheBlueCallers podcast on Instagram, Simply Hunt on Instagram. I'll throw our socials up on Kenny's and I's socials up on the podcast here for you to follow us. Check us out, check the team out. We got so much coming, you don't want to miss it. But thanks for joining us this week. We'll catch y'all on the next one.